course.
I mean, while we do that, I think it's just funny. For how long? When was the last time that we saw each other? It was probably like 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, 2 years ago. When was the last time? Yeah, I remember there was that concert of Moods.
Yes, that was awesome,
Pretty
by the
nice.
way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is good.
Yeah, that
That
was
is
a good
great.
time.
That is great. And then, I mean, you, and after that, you went straight to Paris. So now you're living in Paris.
Yeah, I spent a bit of time. I think after that, I had like one more year in the UK, and then I went back to Paris, and it's been a year and a half now. Yeah.
That's great. I mean, yeah, we can just do an intro of yourself. Please say, tell a little bit of your story for us.
Yeah, sure. Well, my story. Yeah, probably just doing the story of the event, or so. Yeah, I'll
I
just
mean,
start.
just
Like
yeah,
Tom,
what you want
I'm
to.
from Lille. That's where I met Rafa. I think it was, yeah, in a pub, just around
Yes.
around the beer. I spent a bit of time in the UK for studying. I studied at work, and now I'm in Paris. And it's been what? It's been 2 weeks since I've been here, like in sort of quarantine in my apartment. So I think I'll just give you a bit of context of what's going on here in France, and just tell you my events of my point of view of what's happening here in France. Mm. So
Please,
yeah,
please
just
do.
like in terms of figures, like everything really started to kick off. It was 9 days ago when the president made his first appearance, like warning about coronavirus. He shut schools because like kids are the one that spreads the most the virus. And he invited the one who could to work from home. And then 5 days ago, it's been 5 days since he made his second appearance, and he locked the country down. And
That was
since
when Macron said. That was when Macron did that announcement.
yeah, yeah, so it was on Monday. Um,
That was
and
2 weeks ago already.
No, 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 it was this Monday, so it was 5 days ago.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, today we got roughly 12,000 infected, and around 450 deaths. And so just to give you from Federico, to give you a bit of comparison to Italy, we are, according to scientists, like 10 days behind what's happening here in Italy. And we're following pretty much the same curve of people getting infected. So things are not really promising at the moment. Yeah, so for me, it started 2 weeks ago, as my boss just visited one of his friends that was sick in Munich, and a few days later, he got tested for coronavirus. So I had to go
Your
home.
boss.
Uh, Pardon?
Your boss.
Yeah, no, no, his friends. So he visited like one of his friends that had apparently pneumonia, and after being tested a second time, because there is like false positive, so he got tested the first time, and there was negative, and then the second time it realized it was like a coronavirus. Yeah, so just been home for 2 weeks. But to be honest, the first few days were quite chill. Didn't really take it seriously because it wasn't the panic in France, or it was just probably just in Italy. And so yeah, just living life, just being a bit more cautious. But went to the pub, went to see my family, and then on Thursday, so that Thursday 10, it was, yeah, 9 days ago, after the president's appearance, it just the climate just changed slightly. It felt like not right to go outside, although we were allowed to do so, but it just felt it felt different. So starts to actually stay at home, and then a lot of information just start running. You'll have, it's probably what's happening right now. I'm not sure, but it's probably what's happening in Brazil right now. But you'll see a lot of information running all day at the TV, on social media. Your friends, all of your friends will send you a lot of info, and lots of them are misleading information, or at least just them knowing people from the government or stuff like that, telling you that the country is gonna like shut down in a few days. Um, so yeah, at that point, people start running, like escaping and running away from Paris because everyone felt that it would be like worse to stay here. I tried
So
myself, to be honest.
do you
Yeah.
know the population in Paris? Like how many people live in there? Like normally?
Don't want to say bullshit, but I think like within Paris, it's around like 1 or 2 million, and outside within the suburb, it'd be like 8 million. But like, correct me if there's some French people. Correct me if I'm wrong. Um, and yeah, so people just start like running away from Paris, going to like their families or their like a second home in the south of France or in Bretagne, in Brittany. And yeah, so it was tempting, but I think apparently like it's not the best thing to do. So it's probably going to happen to you at some point when the country is going to shut. Like people recommend to stay here and just don't spread it everywhere because like small town are not like prepared to welcome people that from all across Paris. So that's a bit of a silly thing to do. Yeah, and then. And then on Monday, second appearance, and then yeah, everything just got quiet. Uh, it's like if the time just stopped running for a bit, probably for 1 or 2 days, just like the streets just got completely empty, and I don't know, it felt super weird. So I think just because people didn't really know what to expect from that lockdown, and you think from other countries like what happened in China, and then what happened like in other countries in Asia, like something super strict. In reality, it's not the case. Like in France, it's still very soft lockdown, meaning that you can still go out for a walk or just to exercise. You can go for do some grocery shopping. So I think after a few days, people just realized that it was still like very okay to go in the streets. Um, and I think that's what makes Europe and Latin countries very different from what's going on in Asia, and that's probably why, like in Italy, the death toll is already like higher than what China had, and still like exponentially increasing, and we following the exactly the same curve. So yeah, it's a bit weird, bit weird time. And I think now we're here, and it's just like filled with uncertainty about what's going to happen. The lockdown is supposed to be waived in a week. We don't have any information about like whether it's going to be postponed or whether it's going to be stricter. So we're just waiting. We're just
Everyone.
waiting, and and that's it.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, for everyone that is getting in now. So Tom and I, we met in France. He's in Paris right now. He's talking to us a little bit of how the situation is over there now. And Tom, what did you feel when you saw like Macron on TV talking about this war that you guys were fighting with this hidden enemy? And I was really shocked when he used those terms, you know. And I mean, I understand what he wanted to say, but I guess it hit like the people really hard over there. So, what were you watching when he said that?
Yeah, sure. Like I think he broke like records of audience in France. It was like some I think 40
Wow.
million of the French watching the appearance. Um, yeah, it felt right. It felt that I think for the first 2 weeks we really underestimated how big the issue would be, and I think personally I needed it, like to hear someone just declare it, because it's not a war, but it really sounds the same. Like people that I know work in the hospital, like they take the same measure as if it was a war, as if it's a war. So I think we needed to acknowledge it in the same way, and also because like the measure is taking up pretty, again, like a pretty soft. I think it was needed to still have a strong message behind it. So
Hmm. Yeah, I
mhm.
mean, the borders are that we talked about before that I thought was super interesting was about like the misinformation, and you don't know like the sources anymore. You don't know what you can trust it anymore. It's just
So they
wow.
had like computers at work, but they didn't have laptops. So I think lots of company are just gonna shut because they're not prepared for like that shock. And I think like probably the mindset in France is gonna change as well because company and manager is just gonna get used to manage people from home and not at the workplace.
I think that's really interesting. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember. I mean, you were the
That would imply like having a higher death toll than what you.
and like this is the flu season over here now on the streets in Paris. I was super impressed because in while I was here, and yeah, man, just want to say thank you for your time. Thank you
Yeah, you too.
for talking to us. Yeah,
That
I'm
was my
gonna
pleasure,
try
man.
to. Yeah, thank you, and thank